Alright, it's your boy No Tail Ninja back at it again with another review, and I am kind of curious now on how far this is gonna go, because I thought maybe there was gonna be a little bit more chapters left, but it seems like Horikoshi might potentially be setting up a whole new arc right now, and I don't know if I want it to go on much longer. I think if he wants to set up anything more, he should probably just start another series, but let's see. I do think the person at the end of the chapter might not be an actual villain, but potentially a new threat in the sense that they need to tackle, like a societal issue or something along the lines. But before I get into it, you guys know the deal. Make sure to drop a boy a like and subscribe, because oh my gosh, I have been so tired the last couple weeks and I've been slacking on getting these out. But if you guys like and subscribe, it makes me more motivated to want to push these out. Anyway, let's get to talking about today's chapter. So we open up the chapter with Deku attending the graduation of the UA, but it's not his graduation, it's actually the Class 3A's graduation. And we see Nejire and her army of fanboys as President Mike begins to try to pump this graduation ceremony up, because though they've been through a lot of struggles, they still need to find some good in all the darkness. And though all the cherry blossoms are gone, President Mike is still going to give them a good time as he begins to crank the crowd up. And we see that Class 1A is there, and a couple of them are asking about how these guys are faring after their injuries. Because if you remember, Tomoko and Nejire got pretty badly injured during the war. But luckily for them, Mirio was there, so he was able to take care of them while they were on the flying UA coffin. And not only that, but luckily for them, due to the assistance from various other countries, the restoration of Japan has been fast-tracked, and it'll be back to where it was in no time. And Principal Nezu, who, let's be real, has not really shown up much in the series, is actually apparently a man of renown, or rat or mouse or whatever of renown, and he was actually the one pressuring all the other countries to help them get their stuff back together. Now, apparently Principal Nezu actually contributed a lot to quirk morality across the world, so seeming that his renown actually made it so that people were more likely to help. But this is interrupted by the Class 2A student, who's now getting ready for the final graduation speech. But it's brought to you by the one, the only Looming, as Mirio begins to deliver his commencement speech. As he says, "I'm very grateful to everyone who managed to open some space for their busy schedules to come here today. We lost so many things and gained none, but a hero's battle is often turning a minus back to a zero. The general education course, the support course, and a management course, each one of them made full use of what they learned and fought as a single group. However, we're still not even at zero. The last 3 years have prepared us for what lies ahead, but our goal will not be reached." And we see the boy Deku here, which, what the hell is this pose? Why is he laying down? And why is it like shot up his... I'm not even going to talk about that. As Mirio continues his speech with saying, "A world without humor is not a bright future. So a world of pluses is a world where everyone can spend their days smiling. That is our real finish line." As everyone looks at him in confusion, and he says, "Night Eye, watch me," as he pops out of his clothes and he says, "Today's the day we start in my dream, underclassmen," as he comes crashing through with that one girl that's also part of 3A, whose name I can't remember. She was in the beauty pageant, and apparently there's just a UA tradition. He comes crashing through with a giant figure of her face, or tank of her face, and I guess that ends a graduation ceremony. Now, I think Mirio does deserve a little bit more. Hopefully we get to see more of him, because he was kind of really underutilized in the war, and he kind of was just relegated to comedic humor, which he's been funny, but his whole thing was that he's potentially one of the #1 heroes outside of all the other heroes. And it would have been just straight up tragic if All For One managed to get his hand on his quirk. I don't think that the heroes would have had any chance of winning if they did. But anyway, we actually jump to what is now Class 2A. And we see Aizawa as he's saying that he's apparently now their homeroom teacher, which usually they're supposed to change after every year, but this is not a normal situation and they're not going to do normal protocol, so Aizawa remains their homeroom teacher. As we see Bakugo is still in the classroom, and Sero is shocked because he's like, "Aren't you supposed to be at the hospital?" And he's like, "As long as I remain calm, I should be fine, plus everyone needs to come to school anyway." And they're like, confused because it's Bakugo. Remaining calm is not his thing. But Bakugo's had a lot of growth over the years, and he's really managed to tame his anger problems and his outbursts from before, so I don't think that this will be a big issue like it was in the past. But Aizawa looks at a door and tells someone to come in, as we see that it's actually Aoyama, as he's bidding adieu to the UA students because he is leaving. Now, they're kind of surprised because they thought after everything that happened that he would stay and that eventually he would change his mind, but he feels wrong because, yeah, he's gotten permission to stay, but he only really joined because it was All For One's doing. It doesn't feel like he actually earned his spot here. He wants to go on and atone for his crimes and actually earn the title of being hero one way or another, but he wants to do it in his own way rather than following the path that someone else set out for him. As he says, "I took my friend's hands after all, as he tries to hand Deku one of his nasty ass pocket cheeses, but I don't think he's gonna eat that. And he says that I'm sure that one day I'll feel pride standing next to you. As Kirishima is like, man, Aoyama's really the manliest of us all. As Aoyama tries to cheer everyone up by just firing his little laser beams everywhere because he notices the sad faces on all his classmates. And they're surprised that he's able to control it better than he was in the past, but the war kind of bumped everyone up on power control, so I don't know why they're really that surprised. But he also has a surprise for them outside of that as well. And it's actually their new classmate, which is Shinso, which, not really surprised, that was a whole thing that happened like several arcs ago that they kind of forgot about, as he's now the new member of Class 2A. As all the kids get super excited to have a new member of the class, Aoyama starts getting in his feelings a little bit and then starts shooting his lasers all over the place, saying, shouldn't you guys be planning my farewell party? As if you remember, every time Higakure's quirk activates with Aoyama's quirk, it tends to bend the light and you can see her. So it starts happening here where her quirk's glitching out, and who else to see it but this guy? But luckily, Aizawa begins to strangle him because, that's totally what a teacher should be doing. As he says, they've got some important stuff to still discuss. As we see the girl who's been popping up a lot in the last few chapters, Wada Fuma. Now, she says that they'll be helping with the reconstruction of Japan and they'll be following her lead. And aside from just helping with the reconstruction, they'll actually be traveling across, I believe she's talking about Japan, in helping with evading crime in other areas due to the lack of stability. And now that they're missing a symbol of peace, they're more than likely going to have an era of straight chaos going on before that is resolved. As Shoto chimes up, who's looking really depressed by the way, as he says, a symbol of peace, isn't that the kind of situation where All For One was born in the first place? Which personally I disagree with, because All For One was born before there was an era of anything, like there was no quirks at all, so I don't necessarily know if that would be the thing, and technically the shining baby was the symbol of peace, so yeah, All For One was technically not born before an era of peace, but I get the sentiment. And this is just, I'm just going to throw this in there because we want to add to at the end that apparently she was part of Aizawa's class before and they didn't have that whole expulsion ritual that he usually has because they actually proved that they were all heroes. So she's a little bit jealous in that sense. As Aizawa begins to just kick her out the classroom because she's telling him way too much. Now, I do think that she's going to have some importance to the story. I don't know if she's going to be like one of those characters that is going to die or turn out to be a villain or just have way more like heroic significance, but they have really been highlighting her the last few chapters and I wonder where she's going to play into the actual overall story. I don't even think we really know what her quirk is either. But we see all the classes kind of thinking about it now, and we see Deku as well as the rest of the class now kind of like excited to be second year students and wondering what this is going to mean for them going forward. As Uraraka actually runs into Deku and is like, oh, you shaved your hair, and it's probably due to your wounds, but she hopes it grows back soon because my boy, let me tell you, this cut is looking rough. I thought it looked like kind of cheesy or kind of bad in the first time we saw it, but yeah, it looks really bad. I can't really defend this anymore. As Tokoyami also has a pretty bad cut because yeah, his feathers are quite ruffled. But we get to the interesting part of the chapter and we actually see what looks like a masked man who's crying and he's veiled in darkness as he's walking through what seems like a disheveled area that's destroyed, possibly due to the war, but it also looks like he's wearing like the prison jacket that Kurogiri had. Now, would this mean that he is Kurogiri or that his quirk is similar? I'm not really certain, but he doesn't really look like anyone we've seen before, and I don't know if this is going to be a threat or this is going to be potentially something else that we're going to have to tackle. But we see Deku as he's asking Shoto if he's coming to the Aoyama farewell party, and he says, don't worry, as we know that something is going on with Shoto because everything that happened in the war, and I'm also surprised that he healed so well because he had severe burns. And mind you, he got burned by boiling water. So how was he able to withstand the burns of Dabi like that? I don't know. But I wonder if his parents are also healed. But we do get a zoom in of him one last time as we see his face and yeah, he just doesn't look right. And we actually see what's happening with him and his father as we see Endeavor sitting in front of what looks like a tank with what I believe is Toya in it. And the chapter comes to an end. Now, overall, this chapter was just okay to me. It was kind of wordy and a lot of like unimportant dialogue going on around the sides. Like I had to cut a lot of it out. But yeah, I think it's pretty solid. I'm very cautiously optimistic on where they're going with this because yeah, Horikoshi did not tackle a lot of the things that we really wanted to see. And I don't necessarily want to have another war, but I do think there should be some other level of conflict towards the end if he's going to go this route where he's going to like expand the story a bit more. I personally think that he should probably just do a spin-off where all the characters go to different countries or different parts of Japan and deal with the various issues that are like facing there. I don't know if he should continue the My Hero story, but it's also probably because like I'm a little busy and I have no time to keep reviewing these like chapters as much as I do. So I would like for it to end, but I also understand as a fan, like people wanting to see more. And someone mentioned an interesting comment before that we've never really got to see full-powered Deku, and he's not actually become the real symbol of peace like he was, or the greatest hero in the world, which, yeah, I don't necessarily think so either. Like, yeah, it was kind of cool that he defeated Shigaraki, which was one of the greatest threats across the world. But now that he's done and the story is going to continue, is he really the greatest now that he can't really use his power all the way? And did he ever actually make it to full power? I'm still very confused about that, because some instances you see him, he's definitely way more powerful than All Might, but other instances they talk about him as if he's not as strong as All Might yet. So I don't really know. I wish they were a little bit clearer on that. Maybe the anime will clear that up a bit. But for the manga, it's a little muddy, and I feel like there's just going to be so much conflict with people going back and forth. Like, no, he's at 100%, or he's at... I don't know. But yeah, there's still definitely more to be told with Deku and a lot of the other characters. But again, saving that for another video. But anyway, that's all I have to say for now. So you guys stay safe, my ninjas, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Peace.